Hey y'all, Claudia from the Wee Garden Homestead here. I have a new quilt reveal. So I have talked about this one a couple times in my Whip It Wednesdays, but now you get the whole shebang. It is finished. It is ready to go in the mail. I think I might wash it first. I like to do that, wash it and dry it so it gets a little puckery. Where's my paw? Show you that. What do you think? I think it came out pretty good. I think it came out really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and get this up on the quilt wall, get some pictures, get outside and do a drop before it rains, and take you back in time and show you what I did. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Thanks so much. So I have these really cute dog paisley handkerchief looking prints. So I've got the red and white and the blue and white, and I had a half a yard each of these. Emphasis being on had, because there is just enough fabric missing out of that half a yard to make a mask, a face mask. So, 5 years ago when everybody was making face masks, I made some too. So I cut one of each of those out. So I couldn't decide what I was going to do. And I thought I'd really like to do a 3-yard quilt. So what I came up with was from, I've got to find the opening in the book because it's open to the page, from Quick as a Wink 3-yard quilts. So this one should go very quickly. And I don't think I have not done one out of this book yet. So I have gone through on the other books that I've already used and highlighted the ones I've done. So I'm going to do In a Flash. That's this one here. And since I only have a half a yard of the blue and a half a yard of the red, where the accent fabric is, the main fabric, I'm going to use both of those. And like I did on, well, you haven't seen the Jack Skellington quilt yet, but like I did on the Jack Skellington quilt, I'm going to go blue, red, red, blue, I don't know, blue, red, I don't know. I'll figure it out when I go to put it together. So I'm going to use those for the accents. And then I've got just a straight plain white, not white on white, none of that, white. This was from one of my Missouri Star boxes. It's a full yard, so I can use that. And then I've got this red with the lighter colored red on red with polka dots that I used on the Jack Skellington quilt, and that's going to be where these blue lines, where these blue squares are. And then I'll have that for the binding also. So that is, show you all 4 of those together so you can see what they look like together. Okay, so everything is cut except the borders. One border is a narrow border, is supposed to be out of these, and then the other border is supposed to be out of the red. I know I've got enough of the red. I'm not sure if I have enough of those and how I want to piece it together. So I'm going to get the quilt together first, the main part, and then decide what I want to do for the borders. I may just do one of this. I'm not sure. I might use those and use one on the sides and one on the top. I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get to that point. So I'm going to the sewing machine now, and we're going to see what we can do about getting a top together today. Okay, so I have all of these blocks put together. Block A and block B, I think they're called. And I have the same amount of blue as I do red. It worked out just perfectly. I actually had cut longer, and I cut at the middle point. So I had a half wide of blue and a half wide of red, and then a full wide of red and a full wide of blue. And then I just cut two of these strips in half and did the same thing when I put them together. So something to watch out for. I waited till I was done with these to see how they went together before I pressed these. And as I was pressing these, I noticed a mistake. So they go together like this. And it's a silly mistake, but it's still a mistake. So I wasn't paying attention. They go together like this, and I wasn't paying attention. This goes up and down, and this goes up and down. And then I have two, though, that to get them, if this goes up and down and this goes up and down, to get them to point the right direction, I've got to turn them and they go sideways. It's only two. It's not a big enough deal for me to rip it out and redo it. It's just I will have, when I put these together, I'll have two seams going into this white and one seam over here. And then when I put them together like this, the rows together, then I'll have two seams going into this. And I don't know if you can see this over here, but I'll have one seam, just one seam going into that. Now, is it enough for me to tear something out and redo it? No. It's just something to be aware of if you decide you're going to do this pattern, something to watch out for. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. It was just me not paying attention to making the blocks all the same. So I'm ready to put these together and some rows, and I'll be back. Okay, so this quilt top is put together. And looking at it, because between this red and this red, there's so much red, I think that the first border I'm hoping to do out of this blue, if I have enough. I've got what was left from that 6.5 inch strip that I cut, but it's missing a piece. So yeah, and then I've got one strip left that's not straight, so I got to measure it. About 4.5. So let's see. That first border, that's this little narrow border, is out of fabric 1.5. I need 4 by 1.5 plus what? Plus one more. 1.5 by 32. I'm not going to have enough. All right, so maybe I'll do blue down the sides and red across the bottom. I don't know. I gotta do some math here. We'll figure it out. Okay, so yes, these 2 scraps are enough to go down the sides. I will have to use the red to go across the top. I need 110, and those scraps will come out to 158 long. So I'll have a little bit left over, but it won't be enough for the top and the bottom. Honestly, it might be enough for the top or the bottom. Let me see what the measure is on that. Yeah, it would be enough for the top or the bottom, but not for both. So I'll do red across the top and bottom, and I'll do the blue down the sides. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, y'all. I am so excited. I did it. So that little piece I had cut out to make a mask, I actually had never made a mask out of it. So I found that little piece. I did the border all the way, the blue, all the way around, top, bottom, sides, all the way around. And I had this little piece left over. Now, it was a lot of piecing in the border, but I think that the print is busy enough that once it's in there and quilted, like there's a piecing here, there's a seam here, they're all over the place. But I don't think you'll be able to see it once the quilt is finished, unless you really look hard, because, I mean, look at that. It just blends right in. So I just have to cut the outside border out of the red, and this quilt will be, and put it on, of course. And just in case, I did still have this piece here that I would have added in. But this quilt is almost done. I got to go make dinner. This quilt top is finished. This went together so fast. I can't wait to show it to you. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, though, until the end. But it went together super fast. So yes, quilts, whatever it said, quilts in a jiffy. It was in a jiffy. I would say probably from the time I started cutting till the time I was finished, it was probably about 7 hours. But I stopped to make dinner. I stopped for breaks throughout the day. I would say maybe, no, I started at about 1 and I was done at 7. It was 6 hours. And I would say maybe 4.5 or 5 of that was actually working on the quilt, because I did stop and make dinner and I did take several breaks. My only issue with this pattern was for the second border, for this border here, it said I needed 6 strips by width of fabric. And I went across the top and the bottom first, because I only needed 1 strip across there before I put the other borders on. And then I had 2 left, so I had 4 left. I put 2 together and 2 together. I went down the first side, and I had more than half of 1 strip left. So I sewed it onto the other strip and 2 strips that I had sewn together. And this was what was left there. And then I have a whole another strip. So really, I could have done it on 5 strips to save fabric. I don't like having extra cut like this, because what am I going to do with it now? Unless I happen to have something where I need a 3-inch strip. So I did mark it in my pattern that I need 5 strips, not 6. in case I do that one again. I'm trying not to repeat them until I go through them all. But this one is done. I've just got to figure out something for the back and make a sandwich and get it quilted. Okay, I worked it out. That blue that I had was not nearly big enough. So this piece is long enough, but it's just a little bit too narrow. So I'm going to take what I have left of this and what I have left of the white. I'm going to sew them together the long way. And then I'm going to cut them. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to cut them in slices like this. And then I'm going to put them this way. So it'll go down this off center, but down white, red, white, red, white, red. So that's my plan. Okay, guys, I put it to the vote. Y'all voted when I asked you in my Whip It Wednesday, should I put the paw print on the back? I did a separate video on how I did that. I basically cut a piece out and did the applique and then put it back. So look for that video coming out next week. And yeah. Oh, I love the way it came out. I think it looks so great. Let's get you a close-up. Not bad for my first time. It's not perfect, but you know what? I don't live in a perfect world. Awesome.